1923 is back with episode 5, The Ghost of Zebrina. Sterling, we're going to be talking about what I think is the best show on TV and streaming right now. If you don't like that opinion, leave a comment. Tell me you don't like it. Tell me you do like it. But 1923 had a little bit of a hiatus, and now it is back with episode 5. We're going to talk about why we think it's good. And when we last saw the Dutton family, Jacob Dutton, Harrison Ford's character, was close to death, was barely alive, was recovering at home. And you had Cara Dutton, who, is played by Helen Mirren, who was trying to keep it under wraps and quiet to the wolves that were at the door, so to speak, that Jacob was mortally wounded potentially and was close to death. So she sends a letter to Spencer, her stepson, so to speak, to come home and help defend the family so that they don't lose the ranch and lose the land. And we see Spencer getting the letter at the end of the last episode, and him and Alexandra, he knows now he's got to go home. So that's how we left it. So when we pick back up, we have, once again, the voiceover by the character Elsa, who you just got through watching the series 1883. First of all, do you like the fact that Elsa is giving the voiceover for this show, for this season?
Yeah, she's a good narrator.
Pretty good.
Her character actually kind of got on my nerves.
But the writing of her voiceover is very good. Very well done.
It is good. No, I like that. And that's technically Spencer's sister.
Right.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
she would have never known. Like she was dead before he was born.
She died before he was born. Yeah. They show Spencer in a flashback in the show Yellowstone, but they don't show Spencer in the prequel series 1883, which lasted one season. It was a limited series. So when we started this episode, Elsa does a voiceover and basically calls it a melancholy routine. And you see Cara, played by Helen Mirren, tending to Harrison Ford's character Jacob to his wounds. And she makes trips to the post office, hoping that she hears something from Spencer. And so you see that routine that's building up. Everybody is nervous and what's going to happen to the ranch, and there's depression setting in. We also see, that John Dutton Sr. has died, and we see Emma, his wife, now widow, is clearly not getting over what's happened. She's either staying in her room or she's out at the gravesite in the family graveyard. And so poor Emma, we've talked about her a few times. She really wasn't connected in the prior episodes to too many of the other characters, right? She wouldn't say very much, didn't have a lot to do, and then she'd wait on John Dutton Sr. to come back from when they were on trips or whatever to spend time with him. But, so I felt like, are we going to see more of her? What's going to happen with her? And we found that out this episode.
Yeah.
But as the episode starts, did anything jump out at you in terms of the opening, probably 15 minutes of the show?
We had talked about, we thought maybe Harrison Ford it might be a short series for him. I didn't know how he'd make it through 9 shots of a Tommy gun, but apparently he's going to make it. It looks like he's going to be fine.
I mean, maybe.
So I don't think they're going to kill him off now. I mean, he's walking around, so it looks like
he got hit 9 times and he's still alive.
So I don't know if realistically that would happen, but it looks like he's going to be in the series for the long haul. So I really just like the Spencer's time in Africa and the journey back. I think that's it's got a very good almost like an Indiana Jones vibe
it does.
to it. You know what I mean?
All these places he ends up. So in this episode, they're in Mombasa. We'll get to that in just a second. But you're right. He's got these exotic locales, and it certainly feels like Indiana Jones like. And this guy, he may not be a great actor. I don't know because I haven't seen him in anything else.
He plays that role really well. I don't know. I don't know if he's an actor that can do a bunch of different roles, but he does this type of role really well.
Whoever his agent is, whoever manages this guy, if this does not get him several jobs coming off of this show, then I don't know, because this is like a Jon Snow type character. Now he could be typecast. That could be an issue. So he's probably going to want to break out and do some other things. But yeah, and we'll get into Mombasa in just a minute. But before we do that, there was a few minutes in the early part of the episode spent on young Jack, and Elizabeth. And, Elizabeth is, beautiful woman who was expecting to get married to Jack, and then this tragedy happened. And she basically tells him, look, you're neglecting me, and I lost family too. My family's gone, but this was supposed to be our wedding day, and if you're not gonna be with me, and we're not gonna make a go of this at a life, and just sit here and be somber and melancholy or angry, and I think she talks about having anger and hate in her heart, then I'm leaving. And so Jack kind of struggles with that for a little bit, but then realizes, I mean, first of all, where's he going to find another girl like her? I mean, I love Montana, like he's pretty lucky. So he realizes, and that what he's got, and so while that's going on, you have Jacob, who the doctors show up, and they want Jacob to get some sunlight. So Jacob's outside, and Kara is speaking to Jacob about the strategy, right, for what's going to happen, and he tells her that what's happened to him, there's going to need to be a benefactor. That Banner Creighton is not going to do this on his own, and he's going to have someone who's monstrous like him, but who has deep pockets. And she says, why do you think you'd do that? And he said, because that's what I would do.
It kind of makes you think Jacob is aware of Timothy Dalton's character, like he at least knows who he is.
Yeah, because he says, who would want this? Who would stand to gain from the herds not being worked, and the land being sold? Like, and she starts thinking about mining gold. She says gold, and so and you could tell Jacob already knows that. Like, he's almost like he either has a past with his character, or
he's definitely aware of who he is.
Yeah. So there's that scene is really good between Helen Mirren and Harrison Ford, where there's stuff going on between the lines there that you think maybe will come back into play. But so Jack runs out, and he basically says, we're going to get married. We don't need a church. We don't need, to be anywhere but here in front of God's creation. And so in his sense, they're married now. And Kara sees that, and she smiles because she feels like that, that they're going to make a go of it to try to live and try to get past what's happened. So then we come back to, you mentioned the Indiana Jones field with Spencer. We come back to Mombasa, and Spencer's trying to get passage home, but the first thing is Alex says, look, you can send a telegram and go. So they get on a ship, and I think it was the Mauritania, wasn't it? Didn't it say the Mauritania on the side of the ship, which was a famous vessel?
Yeah, I can't remember. No,
I think it was the Mauritania.
Maybe it was. I can't remember.
Yeah. They go on there, and just, once again, the attention to detail that Taylor Sheridan and the directors and cinematographers do, not only when you're in the Yellowstone, but on the locations you mentioned with Spencer, it feels like in any Indiana Jones movie. And then he goes on the ship, and you could see, if you look at the background scenes of the instruments and everything on the inside of the ship. I mean, it's all.
It feels like the movies you watched in like the late '80s and early '90s, because now all those types of scenes are done on a green screen with CGI, and you can kind of tell.
And this is not. The uniforms match the period.
Looks like they were actually in Africa. I mean, it appeared that way.
So he gets a telegram sent, asks for a favor. The captain, they do that. They send the telegram. Then he tries to get passage on a ship, and they say it's going to be three or 4 weeks, several weeks before the ship would head towards London. And so he can't wait that long. So now he's scrambling, and he's looking for a vessel, and he finds a character named Luco, who has a little bit of a coughing and blood problem. So does he have tuberculosis? Does he have?
Yeah, I don't know. It's either lung cancer or tuberculosis. If it's tuberculosis, it's
he's smoking, and he's got.
Yeah, I was like, if you get on that ship with him, I mean, that might be kind of a that we might know how Spencer dies if it's tuberculosis. That's why I was kind of like, I hope he's got lung cancer.
Yeah, the character that played Luca was played by Peter Stormare, who's been in a ton of stuff.
Yeah,
he's that character actor.
Great actor. He was in Fargo, the movie, right?
Yeah, great actor.
Great actor.
And so for the small scenes he has, it has an impact.
Didn't realize how old he's got.
He does he look old in this?
He does, man. Time flies.
He basically tells him, look, I can take you to the Suez Canal and then and get you home to the States and make it back. But it's a tugboat.
Yeah.
It's not a ship you want to be in the ocean with. But he tells Spencer, like, look, it is what it is. And so Spencer's thinking he's going to leave Alex. So it's dangerous. And so he leaves a note, but she wakes up and says, "Look, you chose me. I'm not going to give you a chance to choose again if you leave me. So what are we going to do?" And he says, "Pack your bags." And so
she wanted to go on an adventure.
and you know what you don't see in movies and shows anymore? The chivalry that I think there maybe is too much of an agenda, or people have different biases. They don't put these in series anymore. But you know what's cool about if you watch the scene of Spencer, his character, and he's walking through the market with her, and he's trying to get to the boat, and he's leading, and he's holding her hand.
Yeah,
you don't see that that's a little nuance, but it's a sense of
well, now the guy's always an idiot. And the woman just kind of, the guy's always just,
Yeah, he does. He
So
gets
that-
led around by someone.
Yeah, this show's not really like that.
No, Spencer
appreciate.
is a man's man. He has chivalry. He's got character, and he says, "Look, Alex, this is what we're going. Come on," and like grabs her, but he's holding her hand, and he's going through the market, and they get to the boat, and so you take one look at the boat, and the guy's still coughing up blood. And you go, "This is not going to be an easy journey." And then we cut to a scene that I've enjoyed every single scene this season with Teonna Rainwater. I don't know what it is about the dark side of her journey so far, but it starts out with they're in the school, and I don't know if it's clear or not. I have to watch it again, but did Father Renaud beat the other girl to death? Because he stomped her with his foot when she was already on the ground. It made it seem like he killed her.
It looks like it, but I don't know. It seems like it.
Yeah, it wasn't clear, but it seemed to me like the way they did the shot that, Teonna Rainwater's friend would not give her up, and she speaks in her native language, and that's why I think he killed her. Because he said, if you don't speak the truth, then I'm going to send you to the devil. And so then she speaks in her language, saying she's going home to her to the family, to the tribe, and they're going to come for you.
Right.
So that's when he hits her, knocks her down, and I think he kills her, but we don't know for sure. I guess we'll find out next week. But so basically, Father Renaud goes out. They bury the sisters, the nuns that have been beaten.
She killed two, I guess. She
killed the one that raped her.
They didn't show that though, did they?
No, they did not. But she stabbed her.
Yeah.
And then she obviously killed Sister Mary, who had beaten her. And so, they come out and he sends trackers to go find her. Well, then we see Teonna Rainwater, and really cool again, the attention to detail. She's got a branch behind her as she's walking to scuttle the dirt so her tracks wouldn't be found.
Mm-hmm.
Thought that was a pretty cool attention to detail. And then she uses it as covering. She's got this branch with her. She covers herself so she could sleep, and then a wolf finds her. And so she's scared to death, and she climbs up on a rock, and the wolf just stays on the bottom waiting for her. And when she wakes up in the morning, there's all these sheep. Are they Banner Creighton's sheep?
See, I don't know where she is in relation to them.
How far
I'm
away?
not sure. That's the thing, is like that entire aspect of what's happening with her. Every scene has been entertaining. It's interesting, but it's just so detached from everything else.
You don't
that's
know
going
how far
on.
away it is.
Yeah, so I don't know how it ties in with everything else. It's the only thing.
And the guy that shows up, a Native American guy, Frank. Frank shows up and tells her he knows her father, and he offers her a ride back to their family on the reservation. And so he saves her just in time. That the sheep are there, and they ride off on the horse. And of course, he knows that she's killed the nuns. She tells him that, and he tells her, "Look, they had it coming. Looking at what they did to her." And so then we go to a very interesting scene where we see Whitfield again, played by Timothy Dalton, and it's Banner Creighton and Whitfield, and they're talking about he's buying up the Stratford land, which is where Elizabeth, her family, the widow's moved back east. So he's purchased the land, and he's trying to surround the Dutton Ranch. So he wants the whole valley, and he wants to squeeze them out, and cut off the oxygen to them, right? And so he's buying up all the land, and he's talking to Banner, and he takes him in the house. And I don't know if it was the Stratford house. I think it was a different home, a more modern home. He shows him running water in an oven,
Mm-hmm.
and the electrical.
He gave him the house, right?
And he gave him the keys. So he's trying to move Banner up in the world because Banner was living in a cabin. Yeah. And so he sees all these technological advances, and Whitfield says, "This is the people in the cities have become the masters." and I'm going to make you a master now, Banner. And so he's basically trying to set up Banner to owe his life to him, right? And to be his right hand man. And so that was a pretty cool scene. I thought Timothy Dalton and Jerome Flynn did amazing job in that scene. It's building up the tension. And then we cut back to Jacob and Harrison Ford's character, and he's trying to climb up the steps. So he's trying to get stronger. He's climbing up the stairs slowly, but you can tell he is not in any kind of condition. And then again, as he's sitting outside, he talks to Jack, and Jack says, "Look, we have to get these guys, and take the fight to them." And Harrison Ford's character Jacob says, "No, we need a leader." And he says, "I can be a leader." And he says, "You're not ready." And
he says they won't follow you.
The harsh statement, but the truth.
Right.
And it hurts Jack, but I think he knows it. At least at this point, he accepts it because Jacob is the head of the family. And it's got a little bit of Godfather-ish type of vibe to it, right?
Yeah.
The wounded patriarch who is picking who's going to lead the fight. And so it's kind of interesting how Jack is going to exist within that, right? The fact that nobody follows him yet.
Yeah.
They don't really listen to him yet. You got a feeling that Jack's going to find a pathway to making a big impact. We know Spencer is. But I think Jack's story arc is what really interests me as the story moves forward, and then we find out that they're going to have a baby. So, is it the character played by Dabney Coleman, who in Yellowstone is Kevin Costner's father? It's in the belly of Elizabeth. We don't know yet because we just found out they're pregnant. So we know that's either going to come from Jack or Spencer. Probably Jack and Elizabeth. So it's probably John Dutton III, which will be Kevin Costner's father, which will be the tie into Yellowstone. But then we get back to Mombasa, and the boat is leaving the dock, and they're on the tugboat, and they're taking turns. And one of the cool scenes that I love the payoff of this. This is one of the reasons 1923 is so well done, and there are other shows out there that have good moments with no payoff or no movement of the overall story, and that is that they're out in the ocean and there's a vessel, a ghost ship, Zebrina. And
that entire scenario is cool. They're on a tugboat, right? They run into this ghost
you
ship.
see how small they are compared to that ship. And he goes along, the captain, Luco, goes along the ghost ship, which is a little bit of a maybe a ritual or some sort of, that's what you do.
Right.
Goes along the side of the ghost ship, and he tells the story of how it's been floating. It's been out there for forever without any crew, and there's an eeriness to it. But they pass it, and as they're taking turns, shifts for manning the who's the captain of the boat, Luco goes down to sleep, and then you see Spencer and Alex, manning the front of the ship. And when it's their time to go lay down, he sees blood around Luca, and Spencer says, "I got this." And Luca gets mad and says, "It's my ship." He goes up there, and what happens? Spencer dozes off, opens his eyes, and the boat power is off. Mm-hmm. Goes up to the top, and the captain is dead. And so now he's in trouble. So he starts sending out an SOS. He knows a little bit about how to maneuver the ship from what he'd learned from the captain, and he's looking for help. And then he looks up and he sees the ghost ship. And he finally gets the power cranked. Alex is downstairs in the boat, the bows of the boat, and he turns, but he can't do it in time. And the ghost ship, great scene, because you think he's going to get away, potentially. He's almost there. And then it rams it. And we cut to Kara going to the post office, and she gets the telegram from Spencer, and she's happy. Like, Spencer says, "I'm on my way home." And then it cuts back to the ocean, and all we see is the tugboat capsized.
Yeah.
It was a great way to end the episode. Everything that happened in this episode had a purpose, and it moved the story forward. Every character has a purpose, and this is great writing. Taylor Sheridan is on fire right now for Paramount Plus. He's got so many projects in the hopper. And, Paramount Plus, if you don't have Paramount Plus, I would say get it just to watch this series, because if you watch this series, you're probably going to watch at least some of Yellowstone. You're probably going to watch 1883.
They've got a lot of other spinoffs planned too.
They do. They have a ton of stuff. And he also is the showrunner, people may not know this, of Mayor of Kingstown with Jeremy Renner and Tulsa King with Sylvester Stallone. Every major new project that's coming out right now, short of Picard Season 3, which comes out next week, is being done by Taylor Sheridan. This show is the best show that I've seen on streaming right now. Obviously, there's some other shows like House of the Dragon that just ended that I loved. This show is great so far. 5 episodes in, and they have new actors like the guy playing Spencer that I think are going to be bona fide stars. They're great characters. The female characters are strong, well written. They remind me of some of the ones in Game of Thrones that over time just built and built and built. And then you have the veteran actors in Harrison Ford, Timothy Dalton, and Helen Mirren holding the fort down. So literally, this show's got everything, and it's got the Native American aspect, how that's going to tie into the story, the religious aspect, and the abuse there. So there's so many different layers. I give it a 9 out of 10. I was pumped for the show to come back, and I thought this was a great episode. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it keeps getting better, and the last episode it felt like those action movies we watched in the late 80s and early 90s, and it has that vibe. And with all those, to see Harrison Ford and Timothy Dalton back and, acting again, it's just cool. It's really interesting, and
it's got a
I look forward to what's going to happen,
Yeah, it's got a historical part to it, right? So you're learning something that you end up finding out these things really happened. So there's a historical,
and he's pretty accurate too.
He is,
oh.
And you mentioned, I didn't really think about that, but because I was thinking about the Western and the big expansive cinematography that you saw in the older Westerns when they were on location. But you mentioned the Indiana Jones vibe. They definitely had that with Spencer, the first 5 episodes in Africa, and then Mombasa, and then on the ship. He's definitely got that vibe. So, we'll be here to cover it. We're excited that it's back. And leave us a comment below if you like what you heard today. Hit the like button as well. And most importantly, hit subscribe so that we can grow our channel. And TCB.